All right, so several school districts looking for a little help for the future. This is the time of the year when high school seniors might be looking back on the last dozen or so years of their lives. For most, that K through 12 career comes to a close as soon as this week. So we wanted to talk to a few of those outgoing graduates, specifically about the last few years and about the next few. Our first stop, Midvale, Idaho, which is known for two things, being halfway to halfway Oregon and the home to former Senator Larry Craig. Well, now they can add a graduating class that wouldn't be big enough to field a baseball team. That's right, we spoke with half the graduating class of the halfway to halfway high school. Smack in the middle of Washington County, at the edge of the valley for which it's named, sits Midvale, Idaho, a place where fewer than 200 people and a lot of cows call home. Agriculture's roots run deep here, as does the high school's, which has served the community since 1911. There isn't much to it, just 90 lockers, a handful of classrooms, and 2 state title banners won in the last 3 years. It also has one of the smallest graduating classes in southern Idaho. So we sat down with half of them.
I feel like that's so awkward.
To ask a few questions.
Do I just look forward?
About where they've been.
Just a little.
And where they're going.
I don't like this.
Beginning with, what's it like?
I've never done this before, so.
Living in such a small town.
It's just kind of slow. My name is Marian Hansen, and I am 17 years old.
Everybody kind of knows everybody.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's really pretty much related to each other, whether through family, through marriage, or through blood, but we're all pretty much related.
Everyone knows everything about everyone else. It's the most, I guess, stereotypical thing you could say, but it is the most accurate thing.
It's just the same thing. It's predictable. It's just the same thing every day. You know, you wake up, you go to school, you go to practice, and then you come home, and then you just do that until you graduate.
Class of 23.
Yes.
Class of 23 sounds a lot bigger than it really is. How many are graduating with you?
8.
Just 8?
Just 8.
4 girls and 4 boys. Crazy, huh?
Not here.
To us, it's kind of just a normal day.
In a school where most have seen the same faces in class every day.
Since preschool.
It is a long time with the same people. That is very true.
Downside, we're like brothers and sisters. You know, good days, bad days. My name is Trenton Hicks. I am 18 and I am in the graduating class of 2023. Sometimes you want to give each other a hug. Sometimes you don't want to touch each other with a 10-foot pole.
You went to high school during a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was my freshman year. I remember it was spring break, and I remember sitting in my room and my mom telling me that we weren't going to go back to school because of COVID.
It was, my freshman year. So I remember I was like, am I not going to go to high school for the rest of my high school career? My name is Manon Tyler, and I am 17 years old. My mom's kind of a clean freak and a germaphobe, so I wasn't able to see any of my friends at all during COVID. I think it was July before I got to actually do stuff. And I just remember seeing people who were always so calm about things and very collected, and they were freaking out. And I was like, whoa, this is crazy.
I was like, there's a bad sickness going around. I'm like, oh, well, there's the flu and all that. It can't be much different. And then it shut everything down. And you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't go to school, couldn't see people.
Was it hard for you?
Yeah, don't let me go to online school again. That's all I got to say for that one.
I did online school, and then I also did driver's ed at that time. And I was able to do all of that from home, which was nice because I think it helped my grades a little bit because they were a little more lenient with the pandemic. My name is Hadley Atnip, and I am 17 years old. I really think that they overanalyzed the pandemic. For some people, I do think it could have been a big deal, but for others, I feel like it could just be a normal thing, you know.
We came back the next year, the next fall, and nothing happened. We didn't have any restrictions. We didn't have to wear a mask. We didn't have to stay 6 feet from anyone. So I guess it wasn't any different. We just had a really long spring break.
It was definitely different, but it was way more normal compared to what a lot of other kids had to go through.
It's weird to think that in 15 years they're gonna write a history book on this, and I'll be oh my gosh, when kids talk about it, I'll be yeah, I lived through that is gonna be weird to think about, but I guess I've never really thought about that until just now.
Next year you're gonna be 18.
I am.
There's an election.
There is an election.
Have you thought about that? I mean, you're gonna be in your first election.
I am. I remember thinking when I turn 18, I get to vote, and that is the coolest thing ever. But then, especially this year that I'm getting closer to turning 18 and being a technical adult, I guess, I'm like I actually have to make a good decision based on what I prefer. And then I also have to consider other people's opinions. And I was like, there's a lot of thinking to that.
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm gonna eat for breakfast tomorrow, so.
Like in government, when we talk about like election and stuff, it goes through one year and out the other because I don't know anything about politics. I don't really care for them. So like I might vote, but I don't really care for it. That probably sounds really bad. But like, I don't know, I've never thought about it.
Are you worried about having to make those decisions and what they might lead to?
I'm terrified, I really am, because personally I feel like I don't have a lot of knowledge on that. And I think especially in smaller schools, there's a little bit of a bias, which is, I'm not saying is bad or good. I'm just saying that's what it is when you grow up in a small community and school. And so I think that there's definitely been a little bit of lack of education and I think a lot of people my age can agree to that, or what your parents tell you.
When your family gets together and talks politics, what are they talking about?
I don't really know. I just always hear Joe Biden's name and like COVID and like the shot, like the COVID shot. That's all we talk about. I don't know. It's just so boring to me. But yeah.
Like I never asked about politics that much, but I'd always listen to my parents talking about the elections and everything and talking about how this person's doing in the election or this person, and I just kind of learned like this is the best way, not the left side. So.
Have you thought much about like being able to participate in your first election?
I've thought about it a little bit. I feel like it was kind of rigged the last election, if I'm going to be honest.
I am grateful enough that I grew up with a family that kind of educated me in different aspects. I definitely was raised to understand other people and get that your life is not the only thing that's happening. There's way bigger things and different cultures and races and just ideas and religions, and there's so many different things, and I'm excited to like one-on-one experience that.
What about the world that you are inheriting? What about where you're heading into? Are you
Terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. It is so scary. I think that social media makes it way more difficult and scarier than it is, but I also think that there's a lot of things that social media doesn't cover that are even scarier. I'm scared to have kids and a family and raise them because things seem difficult now. Who knows what it'll be like in 20 years, 15, 10. It's just crazy.
What's the outlook for the class of 2023?
I've never really thought about that either.
Oh, where do I see myself? Everybody asks me that, and I don't know, because I want to say that I'll be succeeding. But at the same time, I mean, I just never know.
Okay, so you're gonna go to college. Mm-hmm. What's it gonna be like leaving this place and going to the big city of Pocatello?
I'm scared. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm really scared. I'm also excited on the part where I get to meet new people and hopefully I kind of find my crowd, I guess, and kind of see what life is like outside of Midvale.
Yeah.
So it's exciting.
Are you worried about the future?
Not really. I mean, I want to do this on my own, and I want to get my license, and I want to get my dream job, and just live out the rest of my life doing it until I don't want to work anymore.
I have a plan, but I don't have a plan. I have a 5-year plan, but not like a right now plan, you know? And I feel like if you're more worried about like what's gonna happen in the future, I feel like you're not even gonna know what's happening right now. When I have kids, I don't want them to be like, oh, like what did you do when this happened? I don't wanna be like, oh, I don't remember. Like I wanna tell them like what happened, like what life was like when I was a teenager, and not be worried about all this political stuff that's happening in the world. If you don't think about it, then it doesn't get heavy.
That's a good point. Don't think about it, doesn't get heavy. Just kind of focus on the now. Marin says this summer she's going to continue to work for the Forest Service, but she's excited to move in with her sister in Rexburg and attend BYU Idaho this fall. She's going to study zoology and wants to be a wildlife biologist. Manon is going to Weber State, and she wants to study criminal justice and sociology and wants to get into family law. Hadley is headed to Pocatello to attend Idaho State, as you heard. She wants to be an occupational therapist. Trenton, who told us he'll be the first in his family to graduate high school, wants to get his pilot's license from Treasure Valley Community College and work in the area. Neither of the 3 girls we spoke with, though, said they see themselves moving back to Midvale anytime soon. Class of 8 in Midvale. So how about a class of 528 in Boise? Later this week, we're going to be speaking to some of them from one of the largest graduating classes in Southern Idaho.